Hey y'all, it's your boy Jalen Jones, and it is one of my favorite times of the year. It's one of the best sports in the world, NCAA men's basketball. We got the season preview coming right up. We got your favorite WRAL sports reporters that are going to give you previews of all the best teams. The big three in the triangle. The triangle is, again, at the heart of college basketball. We all know that's historically, and guess what? Even more importantly, again this year, we got my boy Pat Welter. He headed out there to Chapel Hill to talk about with Hubert Davis, how they're going to retool the season. We got my boy Chris Lee previewing Duke, the heavy betting favorite of the ACC. And they have a couple players that are going to sweep up those player awards. And then we got my boy Big Murph, Murph's Turf. He's going to talk about newcomer Will Wade and what NC State is planning to do this season. Coming right up.
UNC coming in at number 25 in the preseason poll. That sounds a little bit low for the Tar Heels. I think it's a reaction to some of Hubert Davis's previous teams that underperformed relative to preseason expectations. That's playing right into their hands because this year he's really got something. UNC, based on what I've seen so far in the preseason and in their season opening win over Central Arkansas, might be seriously underrated to start the year. That's because a lot of the issues that they had last year, they fixed. They hired a GM, Jim Tanner, brought in to help Hubert Davis manage this roster, manage the NIL, manage the revenue share, and this team has a vision. The size issues that they had last year, no more. This team is absolutely loaded with bigs, starting with freshman phenom Caleb Wilson. This kid might go down as the best one-and-done player in UNC history. This is the type of player a lot of times you see at Duke as far as like the level of NBA lottery pick kind of talent. He has been everything you could hope and more so far through the preseason and in their season opener. He's a power forward that could play outside, he could play inside, and he's got the edge that Hubert Davis's teams have really lacked the last couple years. He's said he's going to go after NC State. He's going to go after Duke. He wants to go after Wake Forest. He wants to go after everybody. He told me he doesn't care about the opponent. He just wants to dominate and show he is one of the best players in the country. And so far, I take him at his word. But it's much more than just Wilson. One of the other bigs they brought in, Henry Vasar, 7-footer from Arizona. Caleb Love with a little of an assist there, telling him how good things could be when they're rolling in Chapel Hill. And he's a really exciting player because he can play inside and out and gives them a size that they have lacked. I mean, he's even bigger than Armando Bacot. But beyond him, it goes even deeper than that. Jaron Stevenson returns home from Alabama. He's a Chapel Hill native, a guy that they played in the Sweet 16 a couple years ago, really versatile player that even if he doesn't score, he can make an impact on the court, but he can also shoot the three, rebound, play some great defense. It's a lineup full of transfers. This is 2025, right? Seth Trimble, the only returning starter. He's set to take on a much bigger role. His athleticism, as incredible as ever, already has several highlight dunks through the preseason and the early start of the year. But it's a team with a lot of versatility. They got Montenegrin pro Luka Bogovac, who wasn't cleared in the preseason. It was starting to drag on, get a little weird. Like, what is the hang up here? He gets cleared to go literally minutes before their season opener versus Central Arkansas. He brings the shooting element that Hubert Davis's teams have lacked in the past. So no more excuses, right? This is a team that has all the positional size it needs. It's got all the NIL and revenue share money it needs. Hubert Davis, I don't want to call it a make or break year, but the seat starting to get a little bit, I don't know if it's hot is the right word, but there's a tenseness among a lot of Tar Heel fans out there because, quite frankly, other than the year they made the national championship, Hubert Davis's first year when they got red hot in the NCAA tournament, it's been a little bit underwhelming since. Yes, there was the team that was a 1 seed, made the Sweet 16, lost to Alabama, but there's also the team that missed the tournament in the last couple of years, just kind of squeaking in at the end. That's not going to cut it this season. UNC needs to be among the best in the ACC. UNC needs to make a run in the NCAA tournament, and I believe they have the talent to do it.
The Duke Blue Devils are going to be good once again in this new season. John Shire has once again brought in a big-time recruiting class, but if you're expecting them to look like they were last year with Cooper Flagg and Kuman Malawach and those guys, it's going to look very different. Cameron Boozer is definitely somebody who's an amazing player. He's going to be one of their best players for Duke this year. However, don't expect him to be the above the rim type of player that Cooper Flagg was. But he's still a double-double machine, as we saw in some of the exhibition games for Duke, and even one of the exhibitions getting over 30 points and over 20 rebounds in one of those games. So he's going to have a big-time impact. But also, this is going to have to be a collection with committee for Duke in this case. They're going to be a little bit younger, a lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen, but then also one junior and Caleb Foster. How is he going to take a role and step up? Is he going to have a role with scoring? Is he going to have a role with dishing out the ball? Is he going to have a role in trying to play some defense? There's still some unknowns when it comes down to Duke and what's going to happen on their team. Expect the way that they play ball to look a little bit more like NBA ball. They have a new assistant coach on the staff. His name is Evan Brads. He comes from the Salt Lake City, Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City. And so they're helping to implement some more NBA style actions and screens and things into their plays. So make sure you're looking out for that when it comes down to Duke for this year. Also, we got to talk about Isaiah Evans, guy from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Also, how big of a shot maker he is this year. He's going to be somebody that's going to be in a starting role, who's also going to have more responsibility to get these points up. Duke lost a lot of points. Their entire starting five is in the NBA right now from last year. So Isaiah Evans is somebody who comes in from last year, is going to expect to have a big time role to step up and also bring Duke some wins.
NC State coach Will Wade, new this year, came from McNeese State, has promised a red reckoning for the Wolfpack. Says NC State needs to get back to where they've been in the past, and that's consistently at the top of the ACC, something that hasn't happened for about 30 years now. And Will Wade has put his money where his mouth is. NC State has built a roster centered around Darian Williams, the ACC preseason ACC Player of the Year, that seems capable of finishing in the top half of the ACC, top four of the ACC, and punching that ticket to the NCAA tournament. Who comes from Texas Tech? A lot of the players that Will Wade brought in have pedigree, right? Williams was at Texas Tech. Trey Holloman was at Michigan State. A lot of these players have won at places they've been before. Terrence Arsenault was at Houston. They made it to the Final Four last year. Will Wade's used a real analytical approach to putting this team together, putting his schedule together. He wants to go to the NCAA tournament. He wants to do it year in and year out. And probably the biggest thing is that the fan base has bought in. They wanted Will Wade when Kevin Keatts was let go. They got him. They donated money to the collective. North Carolina Central coach Lavelle Moten called this a $12 million roster, and certainly capable of playing that way. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to press. One thing they lack is height, right? Van Allen Lubin, transfer from North Carolina at 6'8", starting at center. They've got a lot of length, a lot of positional height, but they don't have a ton of height inside. And we'll see if that becomes a factor as they get into ACC play and play some tough non-conference games. But Will Wade and the NC State fan base is riding high. He's done a great job of blending some of their old traditions, brought out the noise meter, brought out the old jerseys, even posing a little bit like Jim Valvano, and blending that with a new style of basketball. Shoots a lot of threes, gets up and down, pressure defense. That is fun to watch, and the fans have responded to that, sold a record number of season tickets, or at least boosted that number of season tickets, and feels like NC State is on the cusp. They started the year at number 26 in the AP poll. Been a long time since they were a perennial contender in that poll. And it looks like Will Wade, who's won everywhere he's been, got in some trouble at LSU for paying players. That is now legal. And he seems perfectly adapted to this era of college basketball. I think Will Wade and NC State are going to be a force to be reckoned with for the rest of the season.
All right, that is the full season preview for NC State, for Duke, for UNC, and hopefully we're still talking about these teams in March, because I need to see some banners brought back to the Triangle in March. Well, I'm going to go see Will Wade and UAB tonight, so if I see you, and if you see me, say what's up, and we can see what this newcomer is all about.